Hi, everybody. So I'm sorry I'm going to sound a little stuffy tonight. I have kind of a cold, but I figured we better get the class done. I think I can. I've taught this class a lot of times. I love photo stitch. I've been doing these for over 20 years, and I've taught this class quite a few times. And each time I do it, though, we talk about different things and that type of thing. The notes that I'm going by tonight are in the description below this video. So you can go ahead and download them. I put the link to them in the description below this video, and then also on the Facebook page, the Facebook group. So if you're on the Facebook group, you can also find them there in the post that I made. So there's a link. It's on Dropbox. So there's 2 sets of notes. So I wanted to talk about that. There's 2 sets of notes. One is for PE Design and Palette 11. So this works with the Baby Lock Palette 11 also. It's exactly the same as the PE Design. Hi, everybody. Everybody's still coming in. Hello. So but there's one set for Palette 11 and PE Design 11. And there's also a set for PE Design Next and Palette 9. I did some settings differently. So depending on the software you have, you may need to set up different settings on your software. I've found that the newer software, the 10 and 11, versions 10 and 11, I needed to use settings differently than I used to use. So they've done some upgrades in the software that I didn't have to do some of the stuff I used to have to do to get the really good quality photo stitches. So it just depends on which one you have. So make sure you download the notes for the version of the software that you have. So it is getting. They haven't done anything to PE Design for some time. So hi, everybody. So they haven't done anything to PE Design for a while, and I don't know what is going on with that. I love photo stitch in the software. The next class in 2 weeks, we're going to play with the Avenir picture play, and it works really well. There's a few things that I'm not sure that are going to be the same. So what I'm doing is we're going to do the little class dog that we're going to do tonight, this little dog here. And I'm going to do that in the machine because I want to see what I can get for, so I can compare the two. There's some settings that I can change in the software here that I cannot set in the machine. So it's going to be interesting to see the differences. So I'm anxious to play with that this weekend. And hi, Lisa. So everybody's coming in. Yeah, this is going to be a fun class. I mean, like I said, I've taught this class for a long time. I love doing photo stitches. I've been doing them since PE Design 5. And so PE Design 5 was a long time ago, 25 years ago. The first really good pictures I got were in 7. So there was quite a difference between version 5 and version 7. And then there was another big difference between version 7 and version 9. And then they did some stuff that they changed some things between 9 and 10. And so I had to do the photo stitches a little differently with the newer software. So anyway, but I wanted to let you know that if you make comments tonight, you get entered to win a prize. And I've got a nice prize. As many of you know, Shield Sewing Center, where I have worked for a long time, has recently closed. And I have a new job in Davenport at Busy Bee Sewing Center. And I had a lot of samples there, a lot of samples. And anyway, I have a photo stitch. So someone's going to win a photo stitch tonight. This one's called Under the Iowa Skies. Under the Iowa Sky. And I have 2 of these, and I thought, well, I'll send somebody the smaller one. I framed it. I used to have a jigsaw that I did all the, or a saw that I used to do all the frames and everything. And now I actually have a mat cutter. So, but anyway, this will be the prize tonight. Is this photo stitch? I did this one in 2012. Got a little sticker on the back, has my name on it and everything. And I did this one in 2012. So the reason I love this one is it looks like my grandmother's farm. This was the farm where my mom was raised most of her life. It isn't actually the picture of it, but it looks just like it. And in Martell, Iowa. So I love this picture. It isn't that farm, but it sure looks like it. So anyway, that will be the prize tonight. So anyway, so make sure you make your comments so that way you can get entered to win. Okay. All right. So I've got that. All right. So I'm going to have a little delay. I apologize. I may have a little delay in the questions tonight because I have to have another computer over here on YouTube because again, StreamYard loves to change things. So I can only log in once. I can't log in twice anymore like I used to. So sometimes it takes a minute for the comments to come through. So, okay. So again, download your notes. Okay. And you can make some, I'll have some things I'll tell you that you might want to make some notes in your notes if you have them. It's in the description below this video and also in the description on the YouTube or on Facebook. I put it in the description there, the link to it. So you can get to, it's on Dropbox. The Dropbox link to everything is also the featured post at the top of the Facebook group. So there's always a way to get to there's 2 Dropbox links, and you can get to both of them in the featured tab on the Facebook group. Okay. So along with Jan. But I always put the links in the video so that I know the link for the video or the link to this set of notes is already in this video. So, okay. You like barns? Yeah, I do too. And my grandmother painted her farm, and I have that painting, and it looks almost exactly like it. The barn on her painting is more centered, and there's some stuff over here, but this looks so much like it. I just saw this video or this and look at, you can even see the fence line and everything. Isn't that cool? And I always thought this was a cool picture. I love the sky in it. So that was just a picture I found that looked like it, and I used it. So I know. and it's so pretty because that's what Iowa looks like in the summer. So often you'll have those big blue sky and then just these big poofy white clouds in it. So yeah, so I just thought it was cool. So now the other thing I wanted to show you, these are the actual stitch outs, and I'm going to show you pictures of these too. But here's the actual stitch outs of the little class dog. So here's the stitch out. This one's not framed. I need to frame him. He's so cute. So here's the stitch out from what we're going to do tonight. And this is done in P Design 11. This one. And then this was actually done in 9. So this is an older one that I did, and this was done in 9, and you can see how I cut it out. So this one I actually masked. So this one was done in P Design Next or 9. So okay, so there's a couple of the actual stitch outs. I know, isn't he cute? Yeah, I had people come into the store and ask me could they buy the photo stitch because it looked like their beagle. So I just used the little dog is. Yes, your machine can certainly do this, Charlene. Yep. Charlene asked if her machine could do it because she has Baby Lock Meridian. And yeah, so you have to have, and no puckers. So that we're going to talk about how to sew these because they have a lot of stitches, and you do need to use quite a lot of stabilizer. They have a lot of stitches in them because they're dense. So we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But you do need to have this, either the Palette 11 or PE Design 11, or if you have some of the older software like P Design Next or Palette 9, that works too. But there are two sets. Again, there's two sets of notes. So you'll want to make sure you get the right notes. If you have a 10 or 11, use the 11. And if you have 9, make sure you download those instead. So in order for this type of work, you have to have separate software. Yes. So this is the Brother and Baby Lock software. Palette 11, P Design 11. So this is done. This is not done in the machine. This is done on the computer. Okay. So anyway, yeah, you like my farm, Lisa? It probably doesn't look like your farm, huh? Where your horses are. That's cool. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you tonight, and we're just going to do some software. This is so much fun to do, and I want to tell you that these are very addictive. So you'll want to, if you start doing these, you'll just want to continue to make them over and over and over again. So, okay, so let me share my screen with you, and we're going to look at the software. All right, let's see if I can get everything, all the buttons pushed. They, of course, change things again, so. All right, let me make sure I get this and share. And get my picture out of there. Okay. Okay, so here in a minute, you should see my desktop here in a minute. Takes a second to get, there we go. I have to cover up my other computer over here because it's a little bit of a lag. There's about a 20-second lag. And so it really messes me up if I'm looking at it. So I always cover up the picture that's going on, but I can read the comments. So, okay. So this is PE Design 11. I have the PE Design. And of course, PE Design has that little dongle, the little USB that you have to have plugged into your computer. And this is what it looks like when you bring up the screen. Okay. Now, the one thing that's cool about P Design or Photo Stitch in P Design, it's actually an auto digitizer. So it does most of the work for you. And I find it, but you do have to do some stuff to it. Okay. So on the first page of the notes, I'm going to read a little bit of this because I wrote pretty extensive notes on this over the years. And so like Palette and P Design 11 contains 6 Photo Stitch auto digitizing programs. So there's 6 different ones. There's one called Photo Stitch 1 Color, Photo Stitch 1 Sepia, and Sepia is going to be more like, you know, the kind of tan, you know, like the tin type colors, like they're kind of a golden and brownish color. Photo Stitch 1 Gray, so like black and white. Photo Stitch 1 Mono, which is going to be just black and white, and it won't have any grays in it. Photo Stitch 2 Color and Photo Stitch 2 Mono. Let's see, Photo Stitch 2. So, and Photo Stitch 2 is more of a, it's not going to give you a realistic picture. So I like the realistic pictures. I really like the realistic pictures that I do. So I don't use Photo Stitch 2 very often. It gives a very, very interesting effect, but I don't use that one as much. I said Photo Stitch 1 Color creates the most realistic photo art and is the program we will use in this tutorial. The other 5 programs create a unique effect, but do not create the realism that make these photo stitches truly photo art. I do occasionally use the mono, which is kind of neat. I've got an example in my pictures I'll show you at the end of the mono, which is cool. But I don't use the 2 very often. Let me start by saying not every picture is going to work as a photo stitch. So what I always tell everybody about these is make sure you pick a picture that has some of these properties. And I said, here are some tips for picking the right photos to digitize. Use clear photos. You don't want them to be blurry. So you want good detail in your photos. Use photos with detail and distinct colors. When looking for detail, think large. Do not go overboard with tiny details. So it's a little hard sometimes. People will have like a family gathering and they have 20 people in the picture and they want to photo stitch that. Well, it doesn't always work well because there's too many small details. So try to think larger. Think a little more close up. I like to do like head and shoulders a lot because then you can see people's eyes. And I think that gives the photo stitch life if you can see the eyes that you're looking for. Let's see. That's one of the things. You don't want it to be too busy. That the busyness really is hard. The subject of the photo should be fairly large. Group photos do not work well as there are too many and too small of details. So that's what I try to do is I try to keep them larger items that I'm looking for. I pick photos. I like to do landscapes and stuff, and I do people, but I like them to be the main subject. I try to get like head, shoulders. I try to really get their eyes because I like eyes really give the photo stitch life. You can work with your photo in an editing program. Sometimes if you resize it or you crop it a little bit, that works. I often don't. I just pick my pictures, and I do go into some other software occasionally and do a little editing, but I don't do much because sometimes if you over edit the photo, it makes it harder for the program to actually stitch it well. So I normally just take everything in, but I do pick my pictures fairly carefully, and I don't I don't take it into other software, but you can if you feel like you need to. I often scan photos. Like a lot of the pictures I'll show you later tonight are done. They're scans of old photos that I have, or that my mother and my dad had of me as a child. So I do a lot of scanning. In my notes, I said scan your photo at 300 to 600 DPI. I used to do 300 DPI, but the printers have changed a lot over the years, and I really need to change that. I use about 600 DPI now. I don't find that if I use any higher quality that it will be any better than the 600. So I usually go around 600. Sometimes if you go higher than that, if there's any flaws in the picture, it'll really bring those out. So I usually use around 600. That's where I scan at. So you can try your scan. That works best for my printer, but it may be different for yours. So that's one of the things I have on here. Use the photo editing options in PE Design and Palette to enhance the photo. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I do most of my enhancing in the software program. I don't use another program. I do most of it in the program because it has tools there. And that is something that I'm finding that they have some of in the machine. Like we're going to work with the picture play in the Avenir. And they have some of the tools there, but they don't have all of them. So there's one thing that's missing that I'll talk about when we get there. I'm a little worried about that. So I'm not sure how well I'm going to like my pictures in the machine. So I'm anxious to try that to really sew them out and look at them. So I put a big warning stamp at the bottom of the first page. Photo stitch is very addictive and requires patience. Some of the designs take 5 or 6 hours to stitch, but others can take over 20. I often do these in a 14 by 14 hoop on my PR. And some of those big pictures that I'll show you in a little bit take about 20 hours to stitch out. So you have to be patient with them. You have to take your time, but they are so fun. And so just relax and be patient and enjoy creating these beautiful stitch outs. I mean, it's amazing how well the software does. I've tried some of the other ones and I've never found any that worked as well as this. So this is pretty awesome software. Okay. So I'm going to turn my page and let's get started. So we're going to get started. I'm in layout and editing. So let me just close this down for a second. This is PE Design 11, and this is the section that's called layout and editing. Okay. I usually just have that on my desktop. You can get into the software. All the other softwares you see it says layout and editing there. You can there's several sections to PE Design, and I find people find PE Design a little bit confusing because there's other options available. There's all these different parts like Design Center, Programmable Stitch Creator, Design Database. So it is a little confusing because there's lots of different sections to it. Most of the basic stuff in the main digitizing is done in layout and editing. Okay, so I think that should hopefully help you with that part. Okay, so I have my layout and editing open. We'll be digitizing in millimeters. So I learned to digitize in millimeters when I started digitizing. And so I'm going to switch this over to millimeters. There's a couple different ways to do this. You can go to the option menu over here at the right, top right, and you can go down to options and you can go over to system unit. Okay, right here. You can change from millimeters to inches or inches to millimeters. Okay, that's one way to access it. That's the official way. But there's a nice little shortcut that I use all the time. If you go up into the corner of the workspace here, there's a little icon right in the top left corner, right next to sewing order. If you just click on that, it'll change it to inches and back to millimeters. So that also does that. So it's really awesome to do that. So I'm just making sure there's no more questions. Hopefully everybody can, is everybody hearing me okay and everything? Hopefully so. I had a internet go down right before we came on here too. So hopefully everybody can still hear me. Sometimes it's hard for me to tell when I have my screen down. So looks like everything's still going. So we'll try. So if you can make a comment and say you can hear me, awesome. Okay. So I just want to make sure that everybody can. So, all right. So we're in millimeters. We're going to digitize in millimeters. Okay. I'm going to turn my page. Next, we're going to choose a hoop size. So in P Design, you always want to choose a hoop size. And to do that, you're going to go up to the file menu, which is the little flower. And you're going to go down to design settings. And this is going to let us choose our hoop size. Okay. And there's two machine types. There's the home machine and the PR. Now, I have a tendency to choose my PR because that's how I usually sew these. If you have a home machine instead, choose the home machine, which would be the one on the left here. I'm going to choose my PR tonight, or my multiple needle. And I want an 8x8 hoop. That's the size I used for this. The one thing I like to do with these pictures is I like to make them no smaller than 8x8. And the reason I say that is the bigger they are, the more details they have. So I have a tendency to make these pretty big. 8x8's the smallest I really ever do, which is 200 by 200, just so you know, in millimeters. It's a 200 by 200 hoop. I use the 8x12 a lot, which would be 200 by 300. And that's the 8x12 hoop. So that would be another, yeah, Lisa knows all about the addicting part, don't you, Lisa? Lisa's made a lot of photo stitches too. But so we're going to do the 200 by 200 hoop tonight, which is 8x8. Okay. So I'm going to hit OK down here. Picked our hoop. We have 8x8 hoop up here on the screen. Okay. And to get the photo stitch started, we're going to go to the image tab. And the reason we do that is we need to bring in a picture, right? So with PE Design, whenever you need to bring a picture in, you go to the image tab up here at the top. So this is image right here. So I'm going to click on image and I'm going to select photo stitch 1. So there's these different photo stitch ones. There's color, sepia, gray, and mono. Mono is going to be black and white. Gray will be like grayscale, like black and white. I don't use that very often. I generally do black and white pictures, and I'll show you one in color. Actually, I find they come out better in color. Sepia is that kind of golden, like tin type coloring, and I'm going to use photo stitch 1 color. Okay, so we're going to use color tonight. And then this little image box comes up. And I'm going to go find the picture I want. Now, it happened to come up on my, right on the screen because I had played through this the other night just to remind myself what I did. And it's actually on my desktop. So I'm going to navigate to it so you can see where it is. And I have my folder up here on my desktop. It's called someplace here, P Design and Palette 11. Okay. And I'm going to use the class dog graphic. This is also in the download and it's in the description below. Okay. So this little picture is in there. This is in the software, and it has been in the software since I've had software, which is P Design 5. I'm not sure if it was in there before that. It might have been. I'm so glad that I'm able to come. Oh, cool. Hi, everybody. People are still coming in. Hello, everybody. So this class dog is the graphic. This is the one we're going to use. So I'm going to click on him and I'm going to click open. So then we're going to see our little dog up here on the screen. All right. So we got him open. Now there's some things you can do here. Okay. At this point, all these little goofy looking things over on the side are what they call masks. The ones at the top are the ones that I've actually made myself, which we can do. Okay. Oh, so you can actually draw around the dog, and I'm going to show you quickly how to do that. However, I found that I don't mask things as much as I used to. I like to leave a background in the back because sometimes it brings out the item that you're actually photo stitching. And I used to mask everything, but then you would get, things wouldn't lay as flat because then there'd be all these funny angles. So you can kind of see, sometimes you have to kind of look at it and decide. I personally, this little dog, I like the plain background and it stitches out nice and it makes the dog stick out. So I'm going to do it in the square, but let me show you how this mask thing works. It's kind of weird. They have this little thing down here at the bottom left corner called the clipping mask. And if you touch that, it kind of does an auto mask. And I find that it actually, honestly, it takes me more time to fix it than it does just to mask it. So I would probably tell you not to use this because I find it very tedious. And what I do for masking is, and that was something they added not too terrible long ago. So I might have been in maybe P Design 9 that they put that in, or maybe 10. I can't remember. It might have been 9. So I don't like it very often. And there's also some other masks. So let me go down this list. So there's some other mask shapes here, just shapes. Like if you just want a circle, or if you just want this little hexagon or something like that, you can use those too. But if you want to make your own mask that goes around the dog, you want to go to the square here. Okay. And then you want to go to the second icon on the right over here. It looks like the cursor without the tail on it. And if you go do that and you just go up to, there's little nodes in the four corners of this little guy. And if I go up there and grab the node and pull it down to the dog, I can go all the way around the dog like this. So I just kind of go grab one of the nodes and then I start putting it around the dog. I'm going to, wherever you click on this line, it's going to add a node. And then you can just bring it down to the top of the dog. Here's like another corner. So I'll go grab the corner. Whoop, maybe. See if I can get it. It's not coming right now, so we'll let it sit there for a minute. There it comes. So you just kind of work your way around the dog, put your cursor right on the line, and it makes another node, and then you just work your way around the dog. So this is the way you would do it if you want to cut it out. And it's not that hard. And you can, that way you don't have the background if you don't want it. I personally like the background as much as possible. Sometimes the backgrounds are too busy, so you do need to cut them out. But this little guy, I like this kind of gray background, and it just makes the dogs stick out. Okay, so that's how I would mask it. I would just grab the line and start pulling the little line around the dog. Okay, and that's how I did the one I showed you was masked, and I did that in P Design. I think that was done in 7. Okay, or maybe Next. It might have been done in Next, actually. Okay, so let's go back to the square again. I'm going to use the square today, and I'm going to pull this up a little bit because it pulled down after I was playing with it. There we go. So I'm just going to use the square because I want to show the background. Okay. Okay, and I was using the second icon on the right. If you need to get closer so you can tell where your nodes are, this little slider over here on the far right will zoom in, and then you can just get a lot closer, see? Then you can pull it around as you're going. Excuse me, I may cough a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm trying to drink as I do this, so trying to drink lots of water. Okay. So that is the slider for zooming in on the right here. Now, this is the same screen that we do our masking, but then this is where you need to change some tuning on this image because this program has image tuning abilities. So I'm going to click this little button that says Image Tune, and it's going to bring up this little box, and here's our dog. Okay. And it has a sharpening. Yes, this is a very good picture to teach this with because it digitizes well. And I like to give everybody a picture that I know is going to turn out pretty good no matter what they do. And but this is my tricks to this because I've worked with this for years trying to come up with these tricks. So my first thing I always do, and it's very rare that I don't do this, I take the original and the sharp slider here, and I put this up at least 3 clicks. 1, 2, 3. And it makes the dog look very strange right here. So you can really see the details. But remember, we're working with stitches, not a picture. So the thread is, we're working with thread here. So we want the details to come out in the thread. So I always go up at least 3 clicks and sharpen it. Okay. The image will look strange, but the detail is needed. Adjusting the brightness, contrast, or color saturation can also be helpful. So this is the place to experiment. And I go back and forth to this screen many times, sometimes with pictures. This particular picture, it could go up 1 click with the brightness, but we can also do that in a minute. So I normally leave this one alone. This is the brightness. The second one, the next one down is like contrast. So, you can see how it gets real bright when you change that and real dark. Okay. And then this is the green, the red-green saturation, the bottom one, and it changes too. Now, this is a pretty good picture. So I generally leave the other 3 sliders alone, but I go up 3 clicks for the sharpness. Okay. All right. I got to turn my page again. And we already decided we were going to use the square mask. So I'm going to click OK at the bottom of this. And now he looks kind of weird. And he has this little square mask around it. Okay. And I'm going to, let's see. Yeah, so this is one thing I wrote in the notes. I design most of my photo stitches now with full backgrounds as they stitch flatter and add interest to the subject. But there are times when you have to take it out depending on how busy the background is. Okay. So sometimes I'll crop a little bit and leave a little background in and then maybe I'll crop the picture to take some of the worst of it out. Okay. All right. When you have chosen your mask, click next. We're going to do that now because we got our mask. It's just the square one. I'm going to click next at the bottom. And again, this is an auto digitizer. So it just walks you through this. Okay. Click the fit to page button. So I want this to be as big as I can get it. So if I needed to go back and choose a different hoop, I could hit design settings again. It will take me back to that hoop where we changed it at the beginning. Or I can hit fit to page and it's going to bring it up to fit my page. Now, it will leave it just slightly small. So I often will just grab a hold of the middle, one of the corners, just pull it up just a little bit and it'll make it just a little bit closer to the 8x8. Okay. So you can do that. Just needs to stay inside. It just needs to stay inside the 8x8 hoop. Okay. Okay. I think I need to turn the page and make sure I don't miss anything. Okay. So this coming up is my favorite page. So I'm going to hit click next. And what's going to come up now is it kind of is because our page is already set to the 8x8 Lynn. So yes, fit to hoop, fit to page. We're fitting it into the hoop we have there. So, but you can adjust it a little bit more if you want to. Okay. This is my favorite page. So this is the photo stitch parameters. And what you're going to do here is you're going to play with these settings to make this graphic look really great. Okay, so when in P Design Next, between Next and 10, they changed this actual like representation here on the right, the way it's going to look, and it really is better now. So you can really tell what it's going to look like when it stitches. And this is where we'll set these parameters. These settings really make or break the photo stitch. So I do a lot of playing around in here. Okay. So let's just talk about what's here. The sewing option, leave the slider at default. So I'm going to start with the ones at the bottom here. We'll talk about the color palette here in a minute. So the sewing option here at the right here, this is a difference between the older software and this software. I used to take this slider that says coarse and fine. I used to take that slider all the way up to fine for every single picture in P Design 9 and below. But when I got to 10, they changed something here. And if I do that, it literally takes out, it makes it very, it's very flat looking. So I think what they did is it smooths it out too much and there's no detail. So I do not move that cursor anymore. The one that says sewing option, coarse fine. I do not change that with P Design 10 or 11. I leave it alone. Every now and then I'll go up one, but I very rarely change it now because I find that everything comes out way better. So they must have done something to that setting because I was always moving to fine with the version 9 that I had. Okay. I said I used to move to fine before P Design 11. If you have next in those instructions, if you have version 9 or next, you will see me move that to fine because you will need to do that in P Design 9 or below. Okay. But in 10 and 11, you don't. This next one down is run pitch. So run pitch is stitch length. Okay. I don't know why they've always called it run pitch, but they always have. So run pitch is stitch length. So what you need to do is make the stitches shorter because if you make them long, it's the picture looks grainy. And I want these to look like a painting. And so I always make my stitch length somewhere around 2.1 to 2.5 seems to work well. I do use the large hoop. When I use the really big hoop, I try to stick closer to 2.5 because there's so many stitches in those. So the smaller hoops, I usually go down a little bit. And this one, I think I use 2.1 because this is a small hoop. So it'll still have a lot of stitches, but so I like the stitches shorter. It makes more detail. Okay. This next thing is under others. There's a little other button down here. And I'm just going to click on that others. And what this is I want it to be convert with the best stitch quality. I don't care about the jump clips. My machine clips those for me. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about that. I want the stitch quality to be good. And then the next thing under there is image type. I want it to look like a photo. If you want it to be more cartoony, click cartoon because it's going to look more like a cartoon. And it does look different. I can show you that real quick. If I update the preview, it makes it look more flat. It doesn't have the dimension that a photograph has. So that's what that little thing is. I'm going to click others and I'm going to go back to photo because I want it to look like a photo, like a painting. Okay. You have to hit update preview to make it go back. So now it's back to looking more like a photo. You can add a mask outline if you want to. So what it will do is add an outline like a satin stitch around the outside edge. I never do that. That's what this little thing is, add mask outline. And then color option. So now we're going to go up to the colors. And that is up here at the top. So let's talk about colors. Colors are a big deal. You need to use a large color palette. I generally use a couple of different ones. I now use Pacesetter Pro, which is the Brother software or the Brother thread. They have enough threads now that I can use that and I get nice photo stitches with that. My favorite thread is still Madeira Poly Neon. It's the Madeira Poly thread, and that's what I've done almost all my photo stitches in for the last 25 years. So I am going to choose Madeira Poly tonight because that's my favorite. And so I chose that. I know it's going to work fine with that. If you only have the Brother thread, choose the Brother thread. It'll have, excuse me, it'll have plenty of colors to choose from. Okay. Use a large color palette because that way the picture can look at all these different colors. So the other one that's in here, just so you know, if you have Floriani thread, use Floriani. If you have Sulky, use Sulky. Okay. Isocord is in here. So I usually use Madeira Poly Neon. That's just what I have. And I have that whole set. So that's what I usually use. So there's also a thing here. I want it to be auto selected. I'm going to let the software pick my colors for me. Okay. The max number of colors. Generally what I use for black and white pictures, I use somewhere between 10 and 12 colors. Generally for color pictures, I use somewhere between 15 and 18 colors. That seems to work really well. I think this one I did, I'm just looking at the notes here. I think I did 15 for this one. This is where you have to kind of play. If you look at the picture and it looks really good in the design page over here, and then you like add 3 colors and it changes nothing, then don't spend all that extra time changing the colors. So I generally use around 15, 18 colors for most color photos. With people, I often have to use a few more because skin tones. So I often will go more colors with if I have people with skin tones. So you just have to kind of play around. 18, I usually start somewhere around 15, 18. Sometimes I'll go up to 24, 26 colors. but it's usually with people that I do that. Okay. Animals are a little easier to do. So I'd tell you to start with an animal because I think it's easier to do. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So this one, I'm going to do the 15 colors. I think I used, this one, I did the 15 colors. All right. And then I'm going to click down here this is where that brightness and contrast still comes in. And I kind of looked at this and I thought, it looks a little dark yet. So when you're looking at this picture, remember it's in thread and it always sews a little darker than you think it's going to be. So sometimes I have to lighten it and it's always going to kind of sew a shade darker. So just be aware. So you don't want it to be too dark. So let's do that. I'm just going to move the brightness. That's the first one. I'm going to move that up one click. And I could have done that on that page a couple of pages ago too, but I hadn't decided until I got here. So I am going to put that up. And then I am going to click this little button that says update preview. And let's see, after we've changed these things, let's see what happens. Update preview. So it did lighten him up. He's a little bit more golden now. I like that. He looks very nice and sharp. And let's see. I click that. The other thing they give you here is select from candidates. And you can also open this up. And it'll give you some other possibilities, some different settings, and you can kind of go through. And the one that's selected has the black line around it. The one to the right of that's not bad either, but it might be kind of light. I like the dog to be a little bit more reddish because it looks reddish to me, a little bit more of a reddish tone. So I think I'll leave the one that's on there, but that's one way you can see different ones all together. Like the ones at the top look kind of faded out. They look kind of yellow. And then a couple of these look kind of dark. The ones at the bottom look pretty dark. So let's just stay with the one we're on here. And it looks nice and in focus and bright. Let's see. I might go back and show you one other thing here that I might do. Okay, let's go back to previous. I'm going to click previous. And I'm going to click previous one more time. So remember when we did the image tune? I'm going to click image tune again. Let's go up and see what it looks like up 4 clicks for the sharpness. See what that looks like. I'm going to click OK there. So I go back and forth between these 2 pages a lot. Let's go back to next and one more time. And now let's see what it looks like. Make sure it... Sometimes when you do that, some of the stuff comes out too much. And like when I'm looking at this now, there's kind of a white rim around his head. And it really emphasized that when I added that extra sharpness. So I'm going to go back again and hit image tune. And then I'm going to go back to 3 clicks and do one more time. Sometimes it's just too much. You can kind of tell if you're going to get too much. It just is something's popping out at your eye that is too much. And let's see what it looks like now. Yeah, see, that's better because that white line, and it's in the picture, in this picture, that white line around his head was just so stark. And now I don't notice it as much because I know it's there. It must be the way the sun is shining on the dog from like above his head and across. So he has white in his fur and the white is kind of showing up because of the sunlight, I think, on the picture. Okay. So I think I like that. Now, this looks a little scary when I hit the next button, because remember, I said this is an auto digitizer. It picked the threads for me. Okay. Up here in the top, I've got 15 different colors here. Okay. And I set it the way I wanted it. Now, if I click finish, now this is where it gets kind of scary. So this representation you see on this parameter screen, that is what it's going to look like sewn out. Okay, so that's what you want to look at. I'm going to click finish now. And what it comes up on the screen is going to look a little weird. And don't be concerned about this. Because for one thing, it shows all the like jump clips and everything in there. Sometimes this does not look good. And it doesn't mean it's not going to sew well. So what I look at is the screen before. Okay. And every now and then I have to change a color. So let's talk about these colors. And I very rarely convert colors. So what I would tell you to do is pick a color chart that you have. And there's a lot more in the software now than there used to be. So you have more to choose from now. And I would tell you to stick to those colors. What I do is I pull them out of the box and I look at them. And every now and then it'll just pull one really wild pink or something. These sew in layers. So sometimes the whole layer is covered up except for one little tiny place in the eyeball. And it will look fine. But I often have to change one color. You know, I'll look at the colors when I pull them out of the box and say that there's no way I'm putting that in there. And it often ends up being like a neon color. So you can, I'll go back and I'll look at a color that might be the same family, but more subtle. And so I rarely change colors. I try not to have to convert, because if you're converting from one to another, like color family, the more you convert, the more likely it is to not sew out well. So let the computer do its job, because it actually does a pretty fine job. And I do change a color here and there, but not very often. Okay. So what do you think of our dog? That's the whole procedure. Isn't that amazing? How quickly that was? What you do here is you play back and forth with the colors and the like the sharpness and the stitch lengths and stuff like that. I just kind of play back and forth. And if you want to go back, you can't change it now since we clicked finish. You just got to go back and start again. So if I just don't like this one and I hit delete, it'll go away. I'll just do it. And if I go back up to photo stitch 1, color, there's my dog. He's still there. Okay. I can go back in to my image tune. He'll still be tuned where I wanted him originally. Okay. I don't have to change anything. He's still there. I can go next and I can leave it. He's still the same size. And then I can go back into the parameters page here. And if I want to change something else, I can change it again. You know, let's say I want to go to a little bit bigger stitch count, a little bit bigger stitch. So let's see what it looks like. Sometimes adding just a minute amount to the stitch length looks good. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. Let's go back down to 2.2 and hit update preview. So every time you make a change, hit that update preview button and it'll change it. Now that did not change much. I did notice quite a bit of difference when I went to 2.3 and I'm not sure, it may be, the stitches may be still okay at 2.3. Oh, yes. Teresa asked if that I mentioned that sometimes the things take 20 hours. Yes. So what I do is I'll let it run and then I'll just turn it off and then it'll come back right up to where it was and continue. So I have the Luminaire. What works for this? Yeah, you can use this. This is the Luminaire. You can do this on any machine. I just happen to use my PR so I don't have to sit there and change the colors. So absolutely, you can use any machine. You just have to have the software to do this. So, and you can run it on any machine. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a PE design. I mean, you could actually do this on you could just convert it to some other format if you want to. You don't even have to have a Brother machine or a Baby Lock. Okay, so it's complete. I'm going to click, I'm just going to leave it where it's at. Let's go back down to the 2.1. I'll click the update preview one more time and then click finish. There's our little dog. Sometimes it'll take a little while for this to render here, depending on your computer. You know, sometimes it takes a little bit. Let's see. Then at this point, what I would do is I need to save this so that we can save it and put it into our machine. So I'm going to click the little file button, which is the little flower at the top left corner, save as. And I'm just going to put this on my desktop and I'll just call it class dog. And I'll hit save. And then there's our design. So the other, after saving, okay, so with P Design Next, I often will, with Next, that little picture that was on that parameter screen wasn't as good in Next. So what I would do at this point is I would just print this picture, because sometimes I could tell what it was going to look like sewn out is if I printed it. And so I'd go to file and then there's a print here and you could do print setup. And I like to use on the setup, I like to use, I like to do reduce size. And I like to use normal stitch image. I don't like to use the realistic because it sometimes looks weird that way. And I will just print this out on my printer and just to see what it looks like. And honestly, that really helped with especially the older software. Now this I can see on that screen. Can I use a personal? Of course you can use a personal picture. I just have this little, I do this class with the little dog just because I know it digitizes well. Take your own pet, your own family member. Yep, absolutely. I just use this as an image because I know it digitizes well. And it just shows you the steps so you know how to do it, and then use any picture you want. I mean, it is unlimited. So, all right. So then I would print this out, and in the instructions, I show you the printout that I did. I think I used, let's see, I don't think I used realistic. Design size, stitch count. Yeah, it gives you the information to, like on the printout, it'll actually give you like the colors you need. So then you can print that out so you can pull your colors out of your box and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Yeah, you can use any format. In the design database, you can actually convert to any format from the PES file. So if you have a Viking machine, you put it in your Viking machine. Yep. So, okay. So this is where I wanted to talk to you about stitching these. These have a lot of stitches. And I think, let's see how many stitches this has. It's way down at the bottom line here, just so you know. This one has, it's 8 by 8, has 115,000 stitches in it. So that's a lot. It is actually filled. Yes, it is, Mary. It doesn't look like it is, but there's a light color there. There was a light kind of an aura all the way around this picture, and it's always been like that. But no, it's filled in. I can see it. It's filled in. There's a white in there. Okay. So this has 115,000 stitches in an 8 by 8 hoop. That's a lot of. That's a lot. Yes, there's white on his chest, Mary. Yes. That's a lot of stitches. So when I started stitching these, I spent a lot of time figuring out how to get them flat, because that's what people complain about with these, is that they pucker, and stabilizer is a big deal. And I've spent a lot of years studying stabilizer, and I learn something new every day. But I like to use cotton fabric when I do these. And the reason I do is because, for the most part, I think cotton holds stitches really well. It's a good quality fabric. So I have a tendency to use 100% cotton when I stitch these. I often frame mine, so I just do a neutral color. It depends on the color of your design. I often use white or kind of a cream color. I know, Lisa, you said for your horses, you said sometimes black worked better for you. I still use cotton though, because I think it holds stitches well, cotton fabric. Stitching a photo stitch is on page 9 of the instructions, just so you know. There is one change that I've made over the years since I've written these out. I still use my 100% cotton fabric. Instead of no-show mesh fusible, I actually use Shape Flex, the Pellon SF101 Shape Flex. I put 2 layers of that, sometimes 1, but most of the time 2 layers of that on the back of my fabric. And I found that actually holds the stitches better than the Shape Flex or than the no-show mesh. No-show mesh, I would often put it at a 45-degree angle. Like I'd put one on and then I'd lay it at a 45-degree angle. And that worked pretty well. But the mesh, generally the adhesive is pretty light and it wanted to come off of the background. So the Shape Flex SF101 from Pellon has a better adhesive, and I think it keeps the fabric more stable. So I usually put that on first, and then I usually put 2 layers of that, and then I hoop tacky tearaway. I use tacky tearaway, and I hoop that in the hoop, expose the tacky surface, and then I stick the fabric with the Shape Flex on it into the hoop. I do not hoop these. I do not hoop the fabric. And the reason I don't is because it puckers. So when you hoop it, it makes it pucker. So use tacky stabilizer, 2 layers of Shape Flex on the back of your fabric. I stick it down to the tacky surface, and then I lay 2 pieces of tearaway, medium tearaway, underneath the hoop. You just pick the hoop up and slide 2 pieces of tearaway underneath the design. So you're going to have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of stabilizer on this piece of fabric. It's going to be dense, but there's so many stitches in them, and if you don't stabilize it correctly, it's going to pucker. Okay, so you'll notice that mine are very flat, and I have a lot of people ask me, how do I get them so flat? Because they have so many stitches. Like the what size needle? I use a number 11 embroidery needle. I never use anything but an 11, and I've never really had any problems with that. I mean, you could use a 14 if you wanted to, but I normally use an 11. So like some of these big ones I'm going to show you some pictures now that I've done. And these are just the photographs of the photo stitches. So because I could bring them up, on the screen so you could see them. But some of these are done in the 14 by 14 hoop. And like this one is American Gothic. I grew up in Anamosa, Iowa. Do you have to slow the machine down? No. I run it as fast as I can because they take forever, some of them. Like this one here, this photo stitch American Gothic was about 300,000 stitches. And it took 20 hours to do. And I've seen this when I grew up in Anamosa, which is near Stone City, Iowa. And that's the birthplace of Grant Wood. And I've seen this picture a million times. So I had to do that one. I have a couple of his other ones done too. And so that was American Gothic. Here is a picture. This picture was taken by my friend Connie Zink, who passed away a couple of years ago, and going on 2 years ago, my goodness. And this is the Savannah Sebula Bridge. And this is not a real big one, but there's a lot of stitches in that because it's solid all the way out. For the darker horses, Lisa, you said, okay, so that's where you use the darker fabric. Okay. Yeah, because normally my stuff is not real dark. I don't do a lot of real dark ones, but I know that you said that the black worked better for you in some cases. Okay, so Savannah Sebula Bridge. This was a photograph that Connie took of the bridge before they blew it up. I mean, this was a bridge over the Mississippi River that was taken down a few years ago. And her picture was very dark here, but it had a beautiful like sunset sky in it. It was a really pretty bridge. I need to get this one framed. I'd like to get it. I'd like to hang it up in the house. I miss Connie. And then this is called Freedom. And this was a picture my dad really liked. He liked the eagle with the flag behind it. And so that one was also done in a really big hoop. So I know that had a lot of stitches, but it wasn't as big as some of them. And here's my cat. Now this is done in that 14 by 14 hoop. And look at the eyes. Look at the eyes on the cat. I called this Gigi kitten. This looked like my little orange Gigi cat. It wasn't her, but the picture looked just like her. And then here's the owl. Now this owl, I love this owl. Let's look at those eyes. I remember doing this at the store, and I called it Who Me. And that one was done in the 14 by 14 hoop, and it's very close to that big. And it took 20 hours to stitch that out. And I remember going up, the top half of it was done one day. And Judy was at the store with me. We were closing up the store. And all of a sudden I heard, oh my gosh, it's looking at me. And the top half of the owl, the eyes were done, but the bottom half wasn't. And it does look like it's looking at you. So that's my owl. And then this is the one everybody loves. This is my this was a screensaver on my computer years ago. This tiger, and I just called it I'm Watching You. And it has the gold eyes, the kind of gold green eyes in it. So that one was really fun to do. And that's really big. It took a long time to stitch too. And here's Under the Iowa Sky. That's the one somebody's going to get tonight. So make sure you're making your comments. So that one, that might be the bigger one. I'm giving away the smaller one. I had two sizes of that one. And then this one is done with photo stitch mono. So this is the just black and black thread. And then there's no white. It's just done with the white fabric behind it. So that one was kind of neat. And I have that one framed too. So that one's done with the mono. So I've done mono a few times. So that one's pretty cool. And then this is one of my newer ones. I love this one. This is I Love Lucy. It was a sign that I found, and I thought she turned out really good. I really need to get that framed. She's still not framed, but so there's Lucy. I found this really pretty owl, the snowy owl. There was a gal on Facebook in one of the groups I'm in, and she was having trouble doing this. So I did it for her and told her what I did to do it. I thought it turned out really cool. It's a little hard to see on the screen here. It's a little bit more on the purple blue side. So it looks a little different here on the document. Okay. So here's a black and white one. Okay. So this is me. Yes, I'm 4 in this picture. And this was my mother's favorite picture of me. She called it Coy Jan. And that is done. It's black and white, but it's done in the color. I still did it in color, even though it's black and white. I think the color does better black and white pictures because I think it pulls out more layers of color. So that one is done actually in color 1, but it's black and white. It was a black and white picture. And then I did this really cool snow leopard. And that one was so pretty because the eyes are really, really blue. Yeah, I do, Cindy. Cindy asked if can you start and stop? And yes, I do. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll do like half of it in a day. Like if it's in that big, huge hoop that I have that splits, I'll do half of it and then I'll turn it around and do the next half the next day. Or you can just turn it off and just come back to it later. So absolutely, you don't have to do them all. The machine will remember where you were. So that's the snow leopard. Okay. And I got a couple of other pictures for you. So, the last time I taught this class, let me go into another picture folder here. The last time I taught this class, I did a picture of one of my friends from the store, his granddaughter, and this is Harper. So this is the picture of the photo stitch that I did. And I actually taught, I used her picture in the that particular class, and you can go back and watch that. So I also linked the other 2 photo stitch classes I have on my YouTube channel. So you can go back and see how I did Harper here too. And this picture I did crop a little bit, and so let me get this out of here. I did crop this one a little bit, and I wanted to see her eyes. She had such a cool expression on her face, and I brought it up so that I cropped a little bit so I could just see her face and her eyes. And I thought it was so cool. So that is Harper. Good picture of her. Okay. And then here's the little dog that we did tonight. I got to find him. Here he is. So this is actually the photo stitch picture of the little dog after he all stitched out. And then here is the old one. This was done in P Design Next. So make it a little bigger for you. So this is the one I showed you at the beginning on the thing. So I did do the cutout with that one. I masked that one. So P Design Next did a very fine job, but you do have to use that coarse fine slider thing. You have to go up with P Design Next, but I can still get really good photo stitches. In fact, a lot of the pictures I showed you were done in Next, because I've done a lot of in Levin now, but I have done a lot in Next. Okay, so what do you think? What do you think of the photo stitch? It's pretty cool, isn't it? So I'm going to stop the sharing. I'm going to hopefully bring me back here. See if I can get back up here. I'm going to stop the sharing. Maybe. See if it'll let me. I know photo stitch is just so much fun. Okay, so I think I got the sharing stopped. Let me see if I can get back up here. Okay, there we go. I know, and you have to spend some time playing around. But just take your time, play around. You know, if you don't like the looks of it, look at it on the screen, because that parameters is pretty good, and you can really get a lot of detail right there. And if you don't like it there, it's probably not going to stitch out well. So play with that, and just play with your own pictures. You know, pick out, but remember, big details. Try to do big details. Have you used the photo stitch? Okay, Donna, that's what we're going to do in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, this whole month's going to be, we're going to have fun with photo stitching. And we're going to play with the photo play on the Avenir. And I have not really played with it much. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week. And so I'll put that up, and we're going to do that in 2 weeks. There's some things about it that I'm not sure that I'm going to like. So we're going to see how, and I'm going to use the same little dog because I'd like to see the differences in the software and the machine. So, but there's some other, like masks, not masks. What do I want to say? They're like different, what do they call those things? Those overlays that you can put on, and it says that you can, they do kind of a neat, effect over the top, of the picture. So I'm anxious to see how that goes as well. But I'm going to do that in a couple of weeks, and we'll play around with that. Like templates. That's what they call them. Templates. Yeah. Styles. Yeah. So, and it, not all of them may be what you want, but some of them will be really cool. I'm going to stitch out a couple different ones. These take a while to stitch. So I want to make sure that I have time to stitch it. So, okay. So let's see who's going to win this photo stitch. So I need to, I'll have to find a box. So it might take me a couple of extra days to get a box that's big enough. It's not real big. The picture is only, I don't know, I think it was an 8 by 12 picture total. So somebody's going to win this photo stitch. Okay. Yes. Animals are a good way to start, Kathy, for both, because there's not as many, Cheryl, the PDF notes that I've been going by are in the description below this video. There's a link in there. You can just click on it and you can go right to the notes, and it's in the in Dropbox. And if you're in my group on Facebook, the featured tab, if you go there, the Dropbox link is there as well, and it says photo stitch on it, so you can get them either way. Okay. But it's nice to have that to start with. Use that picture. The picture's in the download as well. And then you can just play around with that a little bit. And that way, I know that when digitized as well, that's why I use it. And it's a good way to start. Was a good size picture to start with. I usually use somewhere around 5 by 7 to 6 to like maybe 8 by 12, 8 by 10, 6 by 10, something like that. I don't use like huge pictures, although I have used bigger ones. So, and you just need to have something to be able to like scan into your computer. So if you're using photographs, if you get up much above like a 8 by 10, you can't get it into your printer to scan it. So I usually use 5 by 7, 8 by 10, something like that. Yep, that'll work. Okay, so let's see who's going to win our picture here. And like I said, it might take me a couple days to find a box to put it in. I got to go see if I can find a box tomorrow. So let me see. We have people making comments. Now, you do need to be in the US to win the design, because I have to mail it to you. Cindy asked if I have stitch snapshots from Dime. It is not very good. I have tried it. Some of the gals that had it asked me to help them. And what it doesn't have is it does not let me change the stitch length. And unless I do that, I can't make it work. And so, no, it does not work well. I've never liked it. What'd you say? Do you have this was done in Next. This was done in 9. Yeah, 24 hours. Yep. Lisa's done quite a few photo stitches down. They do take a while, don't they? Because you use that big hoop too, don't you, on your PR sometimes? It take a while. Yep. All right, so let's see who's going to win this. Now, remember, you got to be in the US. You have to make a comment, and then you need to send me. Let me go grab this. Do you get a picture to P? How do you get a picture to P Design? Oh, I started, if you didn't see the beginning of the class, you just go to the image tab. That's how you get it in there. Okay. Give me a second here. I want to put my email. So you need to email me at janshieldsewing@gmail.com. So email me your mailing address and I will send you a photo stitch. Okay. I even framed this one. I used to make frames, and now I have one of those mat cutters. So it's a lot easier to buy standard frames and cut the mats. So that's what I've been doing. Okay, so let's see who's going to win this. I'm going to hit draw. Here we go. I thought somebody might like to get a photo stitch. I'm going to write it down here just a second. Let's see who's going to win her. Maureen Scott. Maureen Scott, you are the winner. Are you still here, Maureen? I think I saw you. Maureen Scott, you are the winner. Let me write it down here. So I never have a pencil that writes. Have you ever noticed that happens? Maureen Scott. 8241 is the number on the Facebook. So Maureen, you are the winner. So if you send me your mailing address, I will mail you this photo stitch. Yes, the Avenir will be fun. So I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm not sure what I think of it yet. I've been playing with it. But there's a couple things that I can't do, and I'm not sure what I'm going to like about that, you know? So it'll be an interesting experience. So that's what I'm going to start working on tomorrow. And I need to do some sewing. So, okay. All right. So in 2 weeks, that'll be the 15th. We're going to play with the picture play on the Avenir. So we're going to learn a little bit with the Avenir. And this is the other way I've done a lot of pictures. So if you have P Design, get it out and start playing, because it is really, really fun to play with. So yeah, thank you, everybody. I'm so sorry I sound so nasally. I did pretty well. I didn't cough too much or anything. So, and I appreciate y'all coming and watching me tonight. And this is like one of my favorite things to do. So I'm hoping that you enjoyed the photo stitch class. There are a link in the description below too of the other two that I have out there. So then you can see if there's things that I changed or anything from the years I've done these. So, all right. So we'll see you in a couple weeks. I will advertise the class probably this weekend. I just haven't gotten around to it. And then we'll talk about picture play on the Avenir. So I think that'll be kind of fun. All right. Take it easy, everybody. And I'll be seeing you in a couple weeks. Thanks. Bye-bye.